Hey everybody, welcome back to the Farm Kitchen at Maple Lawn Farm. Um, Come on and join me while I make some butter today. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to be like totally honest. I tried to make a video and the whole thing just fell to pieces, so I'm trying again. So let's see how it goes this time. Because see, I did not clean up the kitchen for you either, so just come along with me and I'm going to go through this just like I would do it if no one were here. But you're here with me. So you get to see it all, the splashes and the the inaccurate ways that I do things sometimes in order to get them done. So here we go. I have a pile of milk over here that I am going to use to make this butter. And you can separate your cream by using a cream separator. However, in order to do that, you have to take your cream separator completely apart and wash it, and it's just really a pain to do that. So unless you have a huge volume of milk to do at one time, it's really not worth even buying a cream separator, in my opinion. I have one, I don't use it. It's just not worth the effort to me. So what I have here is my big vintage butter churn jar. And I've bought several over the years. I will give you a little tip, the kind where the tops screw down, which this probably originally had a screw down top. But when you keep turning those lids, it really ends up tearing up the wiring system and the wires that come out of it. So I have converted to a lid that just sits down on the top so that I don't have to twist and turn it. And this one has lasted me for years without any intervention. So that's just a small tip on the churns. Of course, you can also get a manual churn and do it by hand. Or something fun for the kids is you can put a little bit of cream in a jar and you can let them shake that up in the jar and they can actually watch the whole process. My grandmother did that with me when I was a little girl. I did it with my children and I did it again with my grandchildren. It's a lot of fun for kids and it's very educational for them because they get to learn where butter actually comes from. So I have over here my jars of milk and I do this really um, just like a crazy person when I'm in here by myself. So I just take the jar and my cream is separated. It takes about 24 hours for cream to completely separate. Once you have milked your cow and that milk is cooling down and that cream is coming to the top, you need to give yourself about 24 hours to get all of the cream. But I just pour the cream right off the top of the jar. Of course, that means that I'm going to get a little bit of milk in my cream and I'm going to have a little bit of cream left in my milk. So here's what I'm going to do with this leftover milk. I could drink it if I wanted to. There are not very many cheeses that I am willing to make without the cream in it. But one thing that I will make is ricotta or cottage cheese. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leftover milk and I'm going to pour it over here in my pot for my cottage cheese that I'm going to be making. And if you missed my cottage cheese videos, there are two of them. You can go back and take a look at those. And that will tell you how to make the cottage cheese. So this jar that I'm pouring now was previously separated cream. I had too much to put in the churn earlier, so this was previously separated. So I'm going to pour the whole thing in there. And then I'm going to start working again on my jars here that have just a little bit of cream on the top. Missing my Bessie and Bossy cows because they gave me lots and lots of cream. But I'm very happy for them. They're in a wonderful home with new owners who are very happy with them. And so we're thankful that that all worked out. So there we go. I just pour a generous amount of cream and I take my milk and I pour it over here in this pot. And I have milk flying when I'm in here doing this by myself because I go through so much milk during a week that who has time to be careful, right? So here we go. Cream in this jar and milk in this jar. And again. until we are all finished with all the jars here. Or until our churn is pretty much filled, and then we will have to stop. You don't really want to get your churn more than about 3/4 full, because your cream is actually going to turn into whipped cream first, and then it'll eventually break, what we say is break, and become butter. So I'm getting up there now where I'm going to have to stop pretty soon here. I'm going to do one more of these. And then I'm just going to pour the rest of these cream and milk and all into my cottage cheese pot over here. So again, if you haven't seen the cottage cheese videos, you might want to take a look at those. But the cottage cheese is actually going to sit here overnight after I add my mesophilic culture, and it's going to clabber, and I'll deal with that tomorrow. So the only thing I'm going to deal with now is the butter. So once you have your cream all in the churn, then you want this to sit and come to room temperature. When I say room temperature, you want it to be about 68 to 70 degrees. Anything warmer than that, you're going to end up with problems. Your cream is going to be your butter, when it comes to the top, is going to be really slick or greasy, and it's going to be difficult to handle when you're trying to wash it, and you're also going to lose a lot of it as you try to strain it. So you don't want it to be really any more than, say, 70, 72 degrees. And if it's not warm enough, then your cream will not break like it should. So you want to regulate that temperature. In the summertime or a warm spring day like today, thank goodness we're finally having a warm spring day, you can't let this sit out too long because it'll get too warm. In the wintertime, our house is cool, so it takes a full 24 hours for it to get warm enough for me to make the butter. You just have to figure out what works for you in your house. Most people have houses that are well regulated with either an air conditioner or a furnace, keeping it at an exact temperature. For me, living in an older farmhouse, that's just not the case. So you're just going to have to play around with your temperatures, but you want your temperature to be about 68 to 72, and then you're going to have the best scenario for that cream to break. One other thought before I end this short little video about preparing to make butter, that is one thing that will also affect your butter could be the lactation of your cows. I mix a lot of different cow's milk together, and so I usually have a pretty uniform scenario when I make my butter. However, if you are only using the cream from one cow, at various points in that lactation, you may find that your cream breaks faster, or you may find that it breaks a little slower. And I have had individual cows sometimes that I just couldn't get the butter to break, and I was doing everything right. So, it happens every once in a while. Don't get discouraged. Think about the process. Think about what you're doing. And if it doesn't work, give your cow a week or two and try again. So that is going to be the end of this little video about preparing to make butter. And I'm going to end this now, and we will rearrange things and come back with video number 2.